Have you ever had someone completely disappear on you? Poof, gone. No closure, no explanation, just completely disappear on you. Like getting ghosted. What about, have you ever had someone make you feel like you were crazy or imagining and making up an entire situation or scenario that you know happened? Like gaslighting? As if the two of those things aren't bad enough on their own, what about putting them together? So now someone ghosts you, disappears, and then reappears, but acts like nothing ever happened. Like your version of the scenario is completely crazy and made up. Putting the two of those together is this newer term called ghostlighting, where somebody completely disappears and then kind of does the Hoover back and makes you feel like you either imagine the whole thing or aren't remembering the occurrence of events. Now, when I saw this article in Oprah Daily covering this topic, I knew it would just be perfect for what we talk about here. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Ginny Preem. I am a keynote speaker, a #1 best-selling author, a master certified coach, and I also host the podcast Unsubscribe with Ginny Preem, which is globally ranked in the top 2.5%. Thanks to you for all of the listens. Around here, what we really like to focus on is letting go so we can get ahead. That is the entire concept behind Unsubscribe, specifically around toxic relationships and narcissists, because that is really my passion and helping you heal from narcissistic abuse and letting go of those toxic relationships so that you can move forward and find confidence, happiness, joy, peace, enlightenment in your life. So let's talk about what gaslighting actually is, and most importantly, why it's not your fault. But before we dive in, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and so that you can get updated. Turn those notifications on so that you know when I drop new videos. So what is ghostlighting? Ghostlighting is basically a mashup of those two things I mentioned, ghosting and gaslighting. So we hear that term ghosting, especially when it comes to dating. Now, can this happen in other kinds of relationships? Of course. Somebody might just disappear with no explanation. Then you've got gaslighting. This is when someone intentionally makes you feel like you're going crazy. They make you feel like you're not remembering the occurrence of events that actually happened. They make you question reality. So when you put the two of those together, you've got the ghosting, the disappearing with no explanation, no closure, and then reappearing and making you feel like you are not remembering the way it actually happened. So this gaslighting is when they disappear, they reappear. They might make you think that you are the problem, or they might act as though nothing happened at all. Some of the things that they may say are, you're really overreacting. That is a favorite term with toxic people and narcissists, to tell you that your reaction is an overreaction to their bad behavior. It's a really big deflection technique, and it's really that whole Darvo component where it's they deny, attack, and then reverse the victim and offender so that they look like the victim. And they may say things like, I'm busy. What's the big deal? Why are you being so dramatic? Or my personal favorite is, I didn't ghost you. You said you needed space. So this could be completely making up something that didn't happen or that you didn't say, again, to kind of turn those tables back on you. And because most of the time victims of narcissists and toxic people are empathetic, they do have a lot of self-awareness and they like to reflect on their behavior. So when this gaslighting happens, it messes with your mind so much because you start to question things and you start to replay the events in your mind. And it creates this loop of confusion. You might start asking yourself things like, did I really say that? Did I imagine this whole thing? Am I being too sensitive? Am I asking too much? And then that self-doubt is exactly what keeps you stuck in that same cycle. Let's talk about why somebody would ghostlight. I'm going to give you 4 reasons. And if you can think of another one, I would love for you to go ahead and put it in the comments so that we can have a nice dialogue and conversation around this for people that have experienced this or are going, oh my gosh, that's what this was. And maybe you're realizing it for the first time that you actually experienced this based on this conversation today. So 4 reasons why a narcissist or a toxic person or someone in general might ghostlight someone. First and foremost, number 1, this is an opportunity for them to avoid accountability, to not have to have a hard conversation with somebody. They avoid responsibility at all costs. And this is something that we know about narcissists. They avoid accountability and responsibility. They do not take accountability for their own actions. Number 2 might be hard to hear. They might be keeping you as a backup supply. If you are very available and give them easy access, they might just be putting you on the back burner for a while until they run out of other supply. And then they go, oh, I know who is going to engage when I reach back out to them, so and so. And so if you're giving them easy access, they will keep you on that back burner. And then the second they reach back out, if you give them that supply and that attention that they need and that they're looking for, this is something that might play into that ghostlighting cycle. And ghostlighting really does kind of play into those narcissistic abuse cycles that we talk about so often. The overvaluation, the idealization phase, and then the devaluation, and then the discard and the hoover. So this is really kind of putting that all together. You can see how it fits really into that narcissistic abuse cycle. The third reason why someone might ghostlight is so that they can control the narrative. So what I mean by this is if they keep denying the behavior that they actually did and make you question it, it kind of gives them that validation to keep showing up and create the story on their own terms. And the fourth reason why somebody might ghostlight is purely emotional immaturity. Healthy relationships have healthy communication. You communicate about what's going on if you're unhappy, if you do need space. But someone that would ghostlight really is lacking that emotional maturity to have those healthy conversations. So if they're emotionally stunted, the easiest thing for them to do is just vanish and then maybe even pretend that they didn't do it in the first place at all. So when we think about those 4 things, what I want you to keep in mind is that ghostlighting isn't about your value. This is about noticing their behavior so that you can learn to value your self-worth. So here's the deal. Ghostlighting hits harder. It hits a little bit different because it creates this emotional whiplash. It hits harder than just getting ghosted. It can leave you feeling really confused, dismissed as a human being, really unsteady on your feet or in your own skin. It can leave you feeling like you're the one that did something wrong. And it can even make you feel like you can't trust your own perception and reality of events that are occurring in your own life. And when you start feeling those things, that's when you get pulled into rationalizing this behavior that you would never tolerate from anybody else. And that's why so many people get stuck in these toxic or abusive cycles. Sometimes they don't even realize that it's abuse until after the fact. If this is resonating with you, go ahead and drop a heart in the comments or leave a comment of what is resonating most for you so far. All right, let's dive into some real life examples because you potentially have either lived this, and if you haven't, you probably know somebody who has. So let's talk about the romantic connection. You're going on a few dates, cruising along, communication seems steady, and then poof, all of a sudden one day they disappear. They pop back into your text messages or your DMs with a, "Hey stranger, how have you been? What's up? What's going on?" It's as if nothing happened at all, and then you address it, and they might respond with something like, "Geez, you're really overreacting. Relax." Or another example is when a really good friend disappears, but then they need something from you. And we know that this is definitely a toxic cycle, those one-sided relationships or one-sided friendships where they always want something from you. They always need something from you. And when you bring up their disappearing act, they may say something like, I thought you were busy. Why are you making this so weird? Ghostlighting can show up anywhere: dating, friendships, family dynamics, and even the workplace. Why can this be so damaging for people? Well, it's because it erodes away at your ability to see things clearly and confidently. It can even affect your emotional stability. And here's why. When someone tries to erode and erase the reality that you have lived through, you start to mistrust your perception and your intuition. You stop trusting yourself. And this is the exact reason, as I mentioned earlier, why people can get stuck into these cycles with these types of people. But here's something empowering. When you start to listen to yourself and trust your intuition and your perception, your central nervous system is going to register that. So it is going to start registering and noticing patterns that make you feel unsafe and uneasy. And it will mark that for you to kind of raise that red flag to know that this is a pattern. If we're talking about ghostlighting and it is that disappearing act and then returning and gaslighting you, your central nervous system gets trained to notice these patterns of behavior so that you can then trust yourself when that red flag and that alarm goes off. So when we talk about unsubscribe and my filter to help you reclaim time, energy, and boundaries at work and in life, and we apply it to this situation, unsubscribe is really designed to help you recognize these patterns and behaviors and let go of what no longer is serving you. So when you look at boundaries and what you are willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate, what you're willing to participate in, if this is something you've experienced and you know that your value and your worth is more than allowing somebody to ghostlight you, you can unsubscribe. Maybe you don't completely block them out of your life, but maybe you take a temporary break yourself. And that is not ghostlighting. If you have healthy communication around the topic, which it's hard to have healthy communication with somebody that is narcissistic or toxic, just to level set there. But it does at least give you the opportunity to say, I do need some space, and then journal about it, because that will help you with recollection and keeping track of incidences and scenarios that actually happened, so that if you do question something, you can go back and know that you have it written down. So there's a few different ways that you can choose to address ghostlighting. I'm going to give you 4 ways. And of course, you can take these and make them your own. These are just for guidance to kind of help you with the situation and some dialogue that you can start thinking about. So the first way would be to hit it head on and address it, acknowledge the behavior. You could say something like, the reality is you disappeared for X number of days. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It could be something as simple as that. Number 2 could be hold a boundary and not argue about it. I cannot participate in connections that disappear and reappear like this. Period. Number 3 is you can decide on if this is a relationship that aligns with who you want in your life. That's basically where unsubscribe comes in. You get to decide if you want to manage this relationship, if you want to block it, mute it, so that you can create space for healthy relationships. And if you are thinking about this or you feel like you have experienced this, someone that does this to other people, it's not good for your emotional well-being to have somebody like that in your life. That's just the hard truth. And the 4th thing you can do is decide to not give any energy to convincing them of your experience. You don't have to debate an experience that you lived. And when you decide to choose one of these 4 options and how you are going to address and approach the situation, that's where you get clarity and it becomes your superpower. So let's talk about how unsubscribe and this filter can actually play into a scenario like this. Ghostlighting is one of those behaviors that does drain your time, your energy. It disrespects your boundaries. And that's why unsubscribe can be really, really helpful in these situations. What I want to remind you of is that setting boundaries or using my unsubscribe filter is never about punishing anybody else. It's only about choosing yourself. And if you're choosing yourself for the first time, congratulations, I'm really proud of you. And by choosing yourself, you are giving yourself permission to stop tolerating behavior that minimizes you, makes you question your worth, or confuses you. So if someone ghostlights you, you can unsubscribe from that toxic cycle. You can move forward with clarity, confidence, and a whole lot more peace in your life. If this made you feel seen, heard, understood, or validated, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel for more. And if something specifically resonated with you, go ahead and put it in the comments. And what other topics you would like for me to cover in future videos, whether it's around boundaries, relationships, mindset, healing, and I will see you in the next one.